Welcome to the BBC.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the BBC. We were recently stood up on this podcast, so we thought we would change things up a little bit. And we're going to discuss something called SWOT. And we're going to go through our bright commandments and our vision and, really get you guys to reflect on this last year, what it was like for you personal, what was it like for you business-wise, what was it like for you as an employee, if you're an employee somewhere, and just go through all of that. So, what is SWOT?
SWOT, SWOT, is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this is something Luba recently implemented at Bright, and we thought it would be fun to share with you guys to do as well in your personal life or business or anything like that. So after every trade show, every month, every event, we do a SWOT, and we keep a document where we all add what we thought was a strength or multiple weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it's a good way to remember in the future when you look back at things to see a snapshot and a quick overview of what went well, what didn't. Because, you forget if you just keep it all in your head, or you keep all these various notes everywhere throughout. I know all of us, we all have notebooks, and then we have digital notes and notes on our phone. And so it's nice to have one document where we can go back and see, okay, oh yeah, I remembered that happened. And, it's a good refresher. So Luba introduced that this year, and that's a new thing we've been doing. And I really like it. I think it's a good idea because sometimes we look back at reports like 6 months or a year or 2 years in the future, and we'll look back and go like, oh, like the sales were really great that month, or they weren't so great, but you don't necessarily remember like all the things that happened in that time period. So it's a nice way to remember.
Yeah, so let's kind of go through to give you an example. Why don't we go through our SWOT just really quickly on the last show that we did? Just a couple little examples of what we would have or what we have, written down of what that looks like. And then you guys can apply that to your business, your life, your relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do a SWOT on your relationship. That would be so fun.
I listen, I have conversations with my girlfriends when they're like, oh my God, I think I need to leave him. I was like, let's do a SWOT.
Yeah.
It's like a pro and it's like a pro and con. A more detailed pro and con.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure. So let's start with the strengths, Erin.
So our last show that we did was Miami, which was in November. Or no, this year it was in October. It was on Halloween weekend, and it was Miami, and we do Miami every year. And so let's give them a little taste test.
Okay, so when you're putting this in terms of business, right? And like Luba said, you could put it in your relationships, any portion of your life. But this is something that we do after shows or months, like Becca said. And it really helps us because then we can look back, because shows themselves blend together. So years, I'm sure, will do the same, if not more. But for us in Miami, the strength that we have, always number one for me, is our team. I can never say enough good things about them. They're wonderful. And then we changed up the way we did things. Like we had a translation booth, which we were so afraid of, but it turned out to be such a success, such a strength. Yeah, it's just little notes, and it doesn't, when Becca and I first started doing this, we would write like paragraphs long, this huge document, and now we've just got it to the point where it's just ... and this is what it was, and then we can elaborate on more when we discuss it, but it's just bullet points, right? So for us to remember.
So, okay, Becca, what was a weakness?
Oh, well, I'd put this under threats, but one weakness I would say, okay, so for a weakness, it's something that you can improve upon or didn't go so well, but it's not as bad as a threat. So, like a weakness, for example, I would say is that our classroom times that we taught at were at all the same times as every other exhibitor. And we don't necessarily have control over that all the time. So, in this show, that's just how they do it. And we have given them our feedback because if you've been to a trade show that has classes, you know sometimes you've got to pick between 2 or 3 that you want to see and you have to make a decision because they're all at the same time. So I would put that as a weakness because it sucked and it impacted the customer experience, but it wasn't like so bad that it was like, this is terrible. It wasn't totally a threat. So for example, like other really big brands, Bio Repeal, Eminence, Circadia, Bright, we all have classes at the same time. So people need to pick who they want to see and when. And depending on how much time they have at that show, they might not have the ability to see all of them that they want to.
That's a good example. Strengths, opportunities. No, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. I would say for opportunities, we have reshifted our future shows. So whether that be our booth size, whether that be how many classes we do, whether that means what shows we attend in the future, that would be an opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. So opportunity is like what you've learned, what you want to do differently next time, what you're going to change. It's putting the weaknesses and the threats into something like actionable is usually where the opportunities are. I would think that's great. That like really all next year is going to be different, how we do the shows, how we represent the brand, you know. Not every trade show is going to have the same experience, which is what we've been doing in the past, and that's just not always financially possible. So, if you want to see all the bells and whistles, you got to come to New York, Vegas, or Dallas.
Yep. There we go. And then threats.
Dun,
People
dun,
talking
dun.
shit.
Yeah.
Competitors talking shit about us.
Competitors, not even.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just unfortunate that, some people, they didn't do well in sales, and, for us to, always remain positive and, the booth experience and the class experience just be great for everyone involved, employees and customers alike. Some people just want to watch the world burn. So,
Some people like to fuck around and find out.
Yeah. So like the people on the floor talking shit. So, so somebody who was like, I've never seen Bright before in my life. And then for someone to go in and because they have, a product whose end goal is similar, but the product itself is completely different, for them to sit there and, just say blindly to a customer just because of competition. Just say untrue, shitty things about us.
That's a lie.
That's a lie. Maury Povich, that determined that was a lie.
That was a huge threat. It was a huge threat. So with the lawsuit, for those that of you who know, and if you don't, go back and listen to our past episode. It's called Getting Sued as a Small Business. It was our top downloaded podcast episode of this year on our Spotify Wrapped. So go back and listen to that one if you don't know. But so the other party involved in that lawsuit started doing trade shows this year. They've never done them before. And they always just so happen to allegedly get a booth in our same aisle, like very close when there's a whole trade show. And that's been a big threat for all of the trade shows this year that they've been at. But this one in particular at Miami, we were made aware from some really lovely customers that came up and told Luba that the other party was saying slanderous things, allegedly, and unprompted. So I think that says a lot about the other company. Like, people ask us all the time about the lawsuit and what we can say, and they kind of want the tea, and we give you as much tea as we can. But you may have noticed we never say the other company's name by name. We don't dog them. We try to be as respectful as possible, as we can legally, based on how the lawsuit was resolved, if you want to use that word. Luba probably wouldn't use the word resolved, but
Dismissed.
how it ended. Yeah. If only y'all could know what we talk about behind the scenes, what was in those court documents, you would be shook. Fucking shook.
Well, it is public. It is public, so
Yeah, if you can
we
find
can't
it.
hold
Some
anyone
people
back.
have found it.
And the messages we get.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so they were talking shit.
Yeah, and
so
what's unfortunate in this situation, because listen, of course we were a little bit worried when they first did the show, when they first came out. It was more worrisome of an unhinged individual that could have possibly been there, and it was more of a safety issue than a competition issue. But we've really just kind of like, we do our own thing, right? We're too busy to care about what someone else is doing. But when Becca said customers come up to you and tell you that awful things are being said about your baby, right? And I want to clarify that these weren't even customers.
Yeah,
these
not
weren't
yet.
even customers. These were people walking the show floor, thinking about getting into the business of skin brightening, doing their due diligence as business owners, and then being fed these awful lies. So it becomes a threat in the SWOT, because this is a reputation that we will get from some people. This is a loss of revenue that happens, right? We put our heart and soul into these shows. We work very, very hard behind the scenes that you do not see, and so much gets put to make this a really satisfying experience for all of you. So these are potential customers that could turn into customers that are not customers, that are being fed, downloaded this information. And I had about 6 people come to me to tell me this. So it was a hell of a lot more than 6 people. So anyways, I'm happy to report that I'm working closely with the show, L&E, to see how we are going to resolve this for the future and take this threat away from our SWOT.
Yeah.
And, at the end, we do these things. So our strengths, our weakness, our opportunities, just to look towards the future. So while we use it, for our business practices and how we do things and to learn and grow, putting it into your business or your life would be exactly the same. So, every time you'll have a different answer for each section. Sometimes you have the same ones, but I think it's for us has been such a helpful tool and opened our eyes to so many things, like how we do things and how we can change them, and just to improve and better ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I always go back to, right? I always say that if those customers want to listen, or if you want to listen to a negative person in your life talk shit, and you want to associate yourself with that person, then A, you're not meant to be in my life, and B, you're not meant to be my customer.
Put them on the SWOT.
Put them on the SWOT.
Put them on the SWOT.
Right? So, something to think of and take inventory of your own personal life, your job, your business, whatever that looks like, right? If you're going to associate with those people, those are the people that you will attract, and the energy that you attract, right? What do they say, that, why are flies always attracted to shit? There's some sort of line in there. I don't know what it is. ESL.
It stinks.
Yeah.
So, coming off of that, regardless, we always have a good show, period, all the time. But then we moved right into a staff headquarters retreat, which was really great.
So fun.
It was amazing.
And
we used all the SWOT, all that information for the whole year. To do what, ladies? What do we do?
we came up with our mission statement and our company pillars, if you will. We call them the Bright Commandments, and our mantra and our vision. So we don't call it necessarily like a mission statement. We call it like a vision statement, if you will. And I have to be honest here, I was embarrassed that this wasn't completed. So the company, we've been around for a while now, and I really wanted to get everyone's feedback with this and really make it a team event. And we really kind of started digging deep when we went to Mexico last year. And we had pages and pages and pages of notes, but we couldn't really get it put together. And I remember I kept pushing it off because I couldn't pull it together on my own. I didn't know how to do that. I'm very good at giving direction, having someone put it together for me and then rereading it and approving it. But there was just so much information. It was an overload and it was too much. And then I was very embarrassed as a business owner that like the company didn't have a mission statement and pillars. Like that was something that was like really bothersome to me that I didn't really share with anyone. And then when I finally shared it with Jake, he was like, no, like, I think this is better because you've involved your entire team. Everyone got heard. Everyone had a piece of something that is the foundation of this company. And it was so much more valuable to do it together and have a piece of everyone in it versus me as the CEO coming in saying, here are the pillars, here's the mission statement, let's go. Which begs the question of, do you know your company's mission statement and your core values and the pillars of your company? Because when I look back at the companies that I worked for, I could not tell you a mission statement or values or anything, which is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. I think that's usually the case, to be honest. Like, I mean, there's some employees out there that are A+ employees that can memorize and recite their company's mission and values, like John, who is our head of security at the trade shows. He is an employee for another company throughout the year. And we were traveling back from Miami together, and he was telling me about his companies, and he knew them all off by heart. He wasn't sure if he knew them all off by heart, so he said what he thought, and then later when he got home, he sent me a screenshot, and it was exactly that. So there are some people out there, type A's like John, but I think for the majority of people, because usually the mission statements and the goals are already in existence and they're pre-decided, you don't really have any feeling towards it. Like, you're not a part of something bigger. Maybe it doesn't resonate with you. Maybe it's just on the website or on the wall just because that's what you do and there's no like thought behind it, because some of them are very generic and they're very similar to other companies. Like, we are considerate, we give back, and I like that with Brights, it's so unique and it's so representative of what the company already was. It's just now been put into words.
And I kind of want to add to that and to what you were saying, Luba. You said you were embarrassed, but I think you did it the right way. Having the culture in place first made it so much easier for us because we knew who we are, who we were, who we are, what we represent. So it kind of made everything that we did, it just like, well, this is what we do. So how do we say that as a value?
Yeah, it'd be almost harder to work from zero and be like, what do I want my company to be like, to make it unique to your company.
Exactly. This is the way it is, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, our bright mission is to live in a bright world where we help the uncomfortable to become comfortable by offering reliable, results-driven products and support that empowers everybody to be their best selves. And everybody is trademarked, that it's spelled every and then brackets body and bracket. And that was very purposeful because we celebrate everybody, but also everybody. Like you'll look at our images, right? We're very inclusive in what we do. So that was a big part of the vision.
Trademarked.
Yes, trademarked. And then the Bright Commandments, which I love, is the first one is you can sit with us. We include everybody. And I love that so much because I think that resonates with everyone. Like, I think when you say you can sit with us, everyone goes to a place in their past of when they didn't feel included.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the school cafeteria, right? You
That
walk
is
into this
literally
big
what I
room
was
and
thinking.
like
My
Mean
brain
Girls.
went to high school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
well,
think
that's like,
everyone's.
yeah, that's usually the first time you really feel or you can feel excluded or included, and it's a very pivotal time in, you know, your brain development as a person. So I think a lot of people's flashbacks are high school or, you know, getting called last for the team at gym and things like that. So little Mean Girl shout out too. Instead of you can't sit with us, it's you can.
Yeah. Our second one is act with purpose. We are intentional every step of the way.
Explains
Our
itself, that one.
right? Our third is champion integrity. We do the right thing. We are accountable to others and our decisions. So
That one is huge.
yeah,
I think.
and when we talked about SWOT and our recent threat, I think this is huge right here: the integrity of the people and the brand.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is establish quality connections. Relationships matter, so we build them strong. Everyone's story matters. Anyone want to talk about that one a little bit?
Well, I think that one is so important with Bright because a lot of why Bright is where it is today is because of our relationships with others and our ability to build connections with others and turn those connections into stronger relationships. Like, we've made so many connections with so many different people, and it all helps the brand so much. Like, we've worked with other companies like Spa Strong. They've been really great. Having relationships with our customers, I think that's one thing that we are so good at. And I think it really resonates that, you know, you're not just buying a product, you're also becoming a part of a community. And I feel like that's a buzzword and everyone kind of says that, but I think we really actually do it. And it shows at the trade shows and the events that we do that we recognize a lot of you guys. And when you message us, we know who you are and things like that. You know, other brands at the trade shows like Kelly Baker or Kirsten from Tampa Waxer and the Waxing Podcast. And even as small as when we do these trade shows, you know, there's setup and there's teardown days, and you have forklift drivers, you have laborers, you have audiovisual people, you have the security of the venue, the janitors. There's so many other moving parts. And there's been more than one occasion where, because we have made friendly connections with those people, that most other brands and most people, you often overlook the janitor, they can really help you sometimes when you need to get shit done.
Yeah.
Shout out Little Red.
Shout out Little Red. My favorite example is at the New York Javits Convention Center. Their audiovisual team that they have has been the best out of all of the convention centers. And there's this one staff member, his name is Andy, but he goes by Little Red, and he was so helpful. He was there before all of our classes. He knew what times they were starting. He had already pre-checked everything, but he came just before, just to triple check that everything was in place and we had everything we needed. He got us different cords, different lengths. He went above and beyond to make sure that we had a successful event. And he hung around all day to make sure he was just always visible and always on standby. Because sometimes the AV people, you can't find them anywhere and you can't get a hold of them, and you're stressed, and you're in a pressure cooker because you've got a show coming up at a certain time and the show must go on. So shout out Little Red. We have pre-requested him for all of our New York shows that we're going to do at that event center. And that's just one small example. And it's not just been the trade shows, it's been other things throughout the years as well. Like, we've been invited to the mayor's office in Miami. We've been invited to the fire hall center in Miami to get a tour of the fire station. All of these things have happened because of our ability to build connections with others, where I think some companies, maybe you go into a new area or a new city or a new event and you're just thinking you're in and out just for that purpose, and you're not looking around you to seeing who can help lift me up and I can also help lift them up too.
And the other part of that too, with establishing quality connections is, and I was very specific that I wanted this written out, was everyone's story matters. So we take it very seriously when we get, anyone's emails or DMs or anything like that. And you know what? Sometimes we deal with very unpleasant people. And this is just for us to go back to remember that everyone has a story. We don't know what it is. Maybe they're having a rough day, and that we just have to respond with the most professional response possible. Now, if you continue to fuck around, you will find out. But that's an approach that we take, that, I told everyone on that team that we have to add that in. And that's the first place that we have to remember. We don't know what's happened in that person's day or their life. Let's give them the most respect, reply professionally, let's work with them. And majority of the time, we get a really beautiful response back. We create a relationship there, and everything is resolved.
Yeah, especially when it comes to customer service. I think that part is really huge. Like, I can think of many examples. I'm not necessarily going to share them because they might be personal to the customer, but maybe they had a death in the family, going through divorce, they're moving, or just having a shit day and they got yelled at by their boss, things like that. And then they email you and they're kind of in a grumpy mood already, because typically if you're contacting customer service, it's because you have a problem. And for us to just keep in mind, like, instead of firing back right away, like, do your best to work through it first and treat them with kindness. And we reserve our sassy behavior until the very last resort. So hopefully you'll never have to interact with it, but it is very seldom when it comes out. And we do try to resolve things as best as we can. Sometimes our customer service manager, Robin, who does the majority of the customer service, she'll email with somebody 19 times before it gets resolved. So she puts in the work to make sure it's thoroughly and respectfully and it's done the right way.
Well, and I want to add to this, and I can't believe neither of you have. So everyone's stories matter, right? So every year we have a model search for our Strength and Courage line. And while Strength and Courage doesn't necessarily say anything on the packaging, unless it comes in a gift set, it is a cancer compassionate line. And it is, to help. And I can't really speak on it too much because I haven't gone through this, but Luba, you created this product because you were going through such a hard time in your life.
Yeah, that's where it all stemmed from, right? Just kind of giving back to the community, giving something to myself at the time where there was nothing on the market. And we've gotten such a strong community from that, on something that literally, like an awful thing that happened that turned out to be such a beautiful thing, right? And we're now going into the 3rd year of the model search, which is wild to think. So that will start up in January next month. But yeah, everyone's story matters. It just has so much meaning behind it. Our next one is educate to elevate. We continuously learn so that we can educate and elevate others and ourselves. We don't gatekeep, and we lift others up along with us.
Love it.
Self-explanatory. Yeah, I love
Our ingredient list is on our website if you need to have a look. Everything is there. I love this one. I mean, I love them all, but I've got my favorites. Dare to be different, fight to be heard. We are fearless, bold, and brave. We do not change who we are to fit in. We will speak up for what is right, even if we stand alone.
I love that one too. That last sentence from that one, I added that in because I remember in grade 4, my teachers telling us that. I don't remember the lesson or how it was relevant, but I remember he said that sometimes you have to stand up for what is right, even if you stand alone. It was probably about something in history. And it just always stuck with me my whole life in the back of my head. I just think it's such a beautiful phrase, and I'm glad we have it in there. And it speaks well to like what Luba does in her business and in her personal life too, and how she, doesn't mind being the squeaky wheel if things are being done wrong, and she holds people accountable to their actions and herself too. But I mean, there's been a lot of times where other companies do not live up to our standards, and there's been quite a few times where they've actually changed their methods and their practices because of what Bright has brought to their attention.
Yeah, it's a big one. And then our final one is celebrate everything. We practice gratitude. We learn from our success and failures, and we are grateful for both. We believe in every experience deserves a cake. Erin, I'm going to let you talk about this one.
Because it's so cute. One of the very first one-on-one like sit-down meetings I had with Luba, I looked at her and I'm like, Luba, you get a cake for everything. Because if you follow Luba on social media, she has like cakes and decorations. I mean, at our shows, we have confetti poppers. We have confetti poppers on our inventory list. There has to be a minimum at 5. That when we go out for dinner, it doesn't even have to be anyone's birthday. We're like, it's this person's birthday, and it's not. And it's just a fun I think aspect. It just adds a smile. Like, who doesn't love cake? Luba loves cake. It's just, yeah, celebrating. I mean, why not? And you told me, you sat there and said, like, why not celebrate? Like, why not?
Life's too short. I didn't used to be like that, right? I was and still, I mean, I was with Jake and John last night at an event, and they were talking about being so driven that you forget to celebrate the successes. And Jake and John both said to me separately, like, oh my God, when they talked about that, I thought about you right away. Like, you're so driven. And I was like, oh, really? Like, I feel lazy most days. And they're like, oh yeah, that's why we thought of you. Like, this is not good. But like pre-cancer, I was very much that person. Like, when I got the first store, that right away it was open, it was done, it was, where is the second one going to be? How am I going to get into the US? Okay, now I'm in the US. How do I get the partnership with Chippendales? Like, there wasn't any reflection of like, yay, good work. And then cancer hit. And that's when I was like, wow, like, life is so short. Like, you should celebrate absolutely everything. And even the things that you don't understand right now are a gift and a lesson in some capacity, some way, somehow. And I like, because I've been working on this contract all weekend, I'll speak to this. I was very angry about the lawsuit, obviously. We spent $500,000 in legal fees just defending ourselves. We didn't sue back. We had the opportunity, but I was not going to I was undergoing active cancer treatment at that time. I was not going to put my energy into suing someone back. I just wanted it to be done, and I wanted this human out of my life. So obviously, it's devastating to a business and would most likely cripple or put a business out of business with that, right? So with that being said, I was reading a couple contracts over the weekend, and I was like, this is ridiculous. This isn't even in legal terms. This needs to be changed. Edit. And then Jake was like, oh, look at you lawyer. And I was like, wow, like if I didn't get that entire experience for over 2 years of reading court documents, asking our lawyers these questions on what this means, that I wouldn't have the experience to read a proper contract. I could have, but now it's so, I don't want to say natural, but like, it's like I'm educated on this, right? I've elevated and educated myself in the legal proceedings
Yeah.
of what contracts look like, right? I also look at the doors that it opened, right? It opened up the doors to go sit with the mayor on an election day, by the way. Our entire team got to go sit with the mayor of South Beach. When are you ever going to have an opportunity to go sit with the mayor?
Yeah. I haven't even met the mayor of my own city.
Right?
I don't even know who my mayor is.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I do.
And then I went, the relationship with the lawyers from, just the relationship that we have with them. Like I'm still in touch with them. I still text them on a regular basis. They took us out for dinner when we were in Miami last. And, the first thing that they said to me, besides like saying that I'm their favorite client, was, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, Dan gives his regards. Like the mayor gives his regards that he couldn't be here tonight. Like that's pretty amazing from a really shitty situation. So celebrate everything. And I know that I've gotten some shit lately from some people that I know. They were like, you need to stop talking about the lawsuit, because I did a big post wishing my, what should I call him? My,
I don't know.
Person.
Your
Florida man.
Florida man.
Wishing him a happy 1-year anniversary since lawsuit was dismissed, and I popped a bottle of champagne and people were like, you need to stop it. And I was like, no, because I've taken a really negative, shitty situation and I've turned it into a positive, and I will celebrate that win every year, right? It was a win for me. It was a win and a lesson for me, and I got great things out of it, and I will not stop celebrating that and everything that came with it.
Yeah.
You can look at it glass half empty or half full.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, just the fact, not only were you undergoing breast cancer treatment at the same time, at the beginning of the lawsuit, it was also the pandemic and lockdown, but just the fact that the business survived, you survived, like, I don't think that was the other party's intention, to be quite honest with you. And that is my own thoughts and opinions. That does not reflect the thoughts and opinions of my employer, allegedly. But so many businesses at $500,000 would not have survived.
No, or made the sacrifices that I had to make to continue, right? I can't remember who said it to me, but someone said, like, I would have just given up. Like I would have just closed my business and walked away. And again, like I get these weird, what do you call them? Like these weird thoughts that come in after the fact of stuff where I'm like, oh, well, that like never even crossed my mind. Like that is not an option, right? It was like I was told, like, it'll never work, like flying all these women together to stay in the same hotel, work at 10 hours at a trade show, put them on a plane. Like it'll never work. It'll never work for you to open up a business in the US as a Canadian. Well, but what if it does?
Fuck around and find out.
Yes, exactly.
You found out.
So I highly recommend this experience if you are in a business or thinking about starting a business, or maybe even looking at your own company's values where you currently work. Like maybe this is a really great opportunity to have a team building event and go through it. Maybe they need to be updated, right? Maybe pale white male wrote them and you're not a pale white male business, right? Like
old pale white male.
things have changed. Like what is your company vision, mission, values? What are they? Do they need to be updated? And I'm not embarrassed that I waited so long. It could not have worked out any better. Leaving that retreat and going to a women's summit after, there were several people there that actually put on these events and had marketing companies to do this. So when they were kind of like trying to sell me on it, I was like, oh, we've just completed it. And they're like, well, what do you mean you just completed it? I was like, oh, I flew my team up to Whistler. We rented a big fuck off cabin in the woods, and we made pizzas, we drank wine, we put everything together. Like, we wrote everything out, and we came up with the finalized mission statement, vision, pillars, bright commandments together. And they were like, oh, like, it was very, again, out of the box, but that's what bright is. But I wouldn't have changed it. Everyone is at the foundation of this business now. Everyone had a say with this company.
And how special to like look at those and think like, you know, I just shared my story that there's one line in there that is from my life, but we all have something we can look at in those commandments and we say like, oh, I contributed that, or like I had thoughts on that. And I think that it doesn't happen. It just doesn't.
And if you're looking to build culture within your business, this is such a great way of doing it, right? Everyone feels heard. Everyone feels seen. Everyone gets to be part of something. And, you know, it's not just a business that you're working for anymore. It becomes like a family, as much as that's like very cliche to say, but it is. I mean, I was out, I think it was last weekend, and I was out with a girlfriend, and I was talking about a recent event, like a recent conversation that I had with one of my team members. And I started explaining it. And I said, oh, I was talking with my girlfriend, and this is what she said. And I was like, whoa. Oh, I was talking to one of my team members, but like, they are my girlfriends too. Yes, I write the check. Yes, they work for me. But like, that just came out so naturally because we love hanging out together. Right? And you only get that if you create the culture from the top, because shit rolls uphill.
Yes. Amen.
And on that note, I'm just going to finish with our mantra, unless anyone has anything else to add.
No, go ahead. I love this part too.
I'm ready for the mic drop.
That's right. It starts with, again, the for every bracket body and close bracket part, for every body part. We believe beauty begins with truth. You deserve smart skincare choices because products that you use should work and be good for your skin. No exceptions. Because keeping skin healthy should never be a mystery. From head to toe and down below.
Mic drop.
So good. It's true. And that just shows you like all of our products you can use everywhere on your body, or at least more than one area. And that's very intentional too.
Well, and ask Becca, you can eat some too.
I wouldn't recommend it. It might not kill you. I had a little spoonful of Courage, our facial moisturizer, one day for a video on social media for girl dinner, if you know that trend. And I was like, well, it's 100% natural. Like, I'm not going to have to call poison control. I'll be fine. And it doesn't taste good. But I do know what it tastes like now, and it does not taste good. It was like sour, which I don't know if any skincare products would taste good, but
I haven't told you this, but so when we were on vacation, Luca, my son, my 9-year-old son, saw that video of Becca doing that a couple months ago. And I brought Block for our, for our trip. And he's like, Mom, can I eat this? No. But Becca ate it. I was like, I don't care.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did. Okay, but on that video, I did, if you go back and look in the corner at the bottom, it did say, do not try at home. I did already pre-think about this, and I put a disclaimer on the video. Like when you watch America's Funniest Home Videos or something, they're like, do not try this at home. Do not jump off your roof into a pool. Yeah.
You wanted to try?
All the things that the lawsuit taught us. We knew to put that disclaimer in. All of the things.
Yeah, you always have to put a disclaimer, like just in case. 'Cause especially for children, like he wouldn't know. But it would have been so funny if he did and you got a video of it. That would have been great.
On that note, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
and
everyone.
Happy New Year. I think we're probably going to be back in the new year now.
Yeah,
Yes, no?
who knows? We might have one or two more, but just in case things get busy, it was so nice.
Yes.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye.